Okay, so we're going to take a look at one additional problem involving a radical equation. And so the first thing that we want to do on this is isolate the radical. We want to get the radical by itself on one side of the equation. And so in order to do that, I'm going to start with this minus 2, and I'm going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. So that's going to give me the square root of 7x minus 7. This minus 2 and this plus 2 are going to cancel. And then on the other side, I'm going to have 2x minus 9. Now, once we have the radical by itself, the next step is to get rid of the square root. And so in order to get rid of the square root, we know that we need to square both sides of the equation. So when you square a square root, it kind of cancels each other out and leaves you just what's underneath, which is the 7x minus 7. Now we have to be careful on the right-hand side because we have to remember that 2x minus 9 squared is really 2x minus 9 times 2x minus 9, and it's going to require the FOIL method in order for me to calculate that product. So I'm going to do first times first, so 2x times 2x, that's going to give me 4x squared. The outside terms will give me negative 18x. The inside terms will also give me negative 18x. And my last terms, negative 9 times negative 9, will be positive 81. So we'll go ahead now and we'll combine some like terms. On the right, we can combine the two negative 18s, which is going to make negative 36x. And then we see that it is quadratic because we have a squared term. And so we're going to move everything to one side and then make an attempt to factor. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract this 7x off. We'll do that first. So that's going to leave me a negative 7. And on the right, 4x squared minus 43x plus 81. And then finally, we're going to add the 7 to both sides. And so that's going to give me 4x squared minus 43x plus 88. Now, our goal here is to factor, and you may find that on something like this where you have numbers that are a little bit larger, you may want to try quadratic formula, but I'm going to try to factor it. To make the 4x squared, I'm going to use an x and a 4x. And then to make the 88, I'm going to do 11 times 8. All right, we need our middle term to be negative, so I'm going to go ahead and put both negatives here, and then I'm going to do a quick check and just make sure that I have this correct. So if I FOIL this back out, the first two terms, the x and the 4x, is going to make a 4x squared. That's going to be good. And then my outside terms will make negative 11x. My inside terms will make negative 32x. My last terms will make a positive 88. So I know that the 4x squared is good. I know that the positive 88 is good. And I see that if I combine these two middle terms, that gives me my negative 43x. And so once you have that factored correctly, then you're going to set each of those terms equal to 0. So we'll have x minus 8 is equal to 0, and 4x minus 11 is equal to 0, and we'll solve. So we'll solve the first equation by adding 8 to both sides. So one answer will be x is equal to 8. And on the other one, we're going to add 11 to both sides. So we have 4x is equal to 11. And then we're going to divide both sides by 4. And so on this one, our answer will be 11 over 4. Now remember, on your radical equations, it's a good idea to check your solutions to be sure that they're actually both solutions, and you do that by plugging back into the original problem. And when you do that, when you plug the 8 into the original problem, you do get a correct solution. But when you plug the 11 over 4 into the original problem, you get an untrue statement. And so we will end up eliminating this as an answer and only going with the x is equal to 8.